Let's see what is going on, guys. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Johnny Nitafan, and in this episode, we have Doug Blake on. Guys, Doug Blake, just a little bit of backstory about him. This is going to be an episode that you are not going to want to miss. He's gone from zero to over $2 million in issued business, all with one carrier. Selling completely just final expense, mostly telesales, got some face to face. He has a ton of industry knowledge, been doing it for a while, and so I'm excited for this conversation. If you guys know who David Price is, I've had him on here a few times. This is actually David's mentor and the person who kind of like helped mentor David, which is really cool, and helped him get to where he's been. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on here, Doug.
Oh, my pleasure, man. And just to give you a little quick correction, I don't want to like make the host look bad, but it was 2.9 million is where it was the highest we got to in 1 month so far.
Closer to 3. That's crazy.
Yeah, we're awesome. Literally like 1 or 2 policies off of 3. So, maybe if a few people got a couple more leads, we'd be talking $3 million. But yeah, man.
You're like, dude, let me just get some leads now and let's start selling. Let's get to 3, right?
Yeah, but it's been a phenomenal ride, man. So
yeah,
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm excited for this. A lot of people. I think it's cool when you start like meeting different people, right? And there's hidden gems I feel like you find, and I think you're definitely one of them. That a lot of people like when I started hearing about you and started seeing what you've been able to do. It was like I was like, dude, it's so like I was shocked I haven't heard of you before, right? And it's like it's one of those things. It's like some people are like well known, but like they're just not like obviously one having the success that you've had. The financial freedom, the things that you've been able to build. And so I'm excited to dive deeper into your story here. And for other people to hear and learn more about you and kind of what you've been able to do and how you've been able to kind of overcome obstacles that you've gone through in your life. But I guess what I want to start kind of, how did you get into the final expense space?
Kind of just like anything it was almost on accident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was up in New Jersey. I graduated college, and I just didn't know what I was going to do. I moved down to Florida with my now father-in-law, at the time, my wife's father and all them. And he offered me a job being his partner in a mortgage and real estate company.
Oh, okay.
So coming out of college, like, I'm like, dude, I didn't have a job. I'm like, sign me up, man. Like, let's roll.
Yeah.
And I moved down to Florida, moved down a few months before he did, like not knowing anything and just kind of do like what I do best. I just try to figure it out, and what I figured out really, really quickly in South Florida, because up in Jersey, it was pretty easy. Like you had real estate agents and you had mortgage brokers. Well, in Florida, every real estate agent was also a mortgage broker. So I'm like, well, how can I make this work? So I just started like networking, and actually got really, really good at recruiting. Had over 100 realtors and mortgage brokers working for me at the time. And we were doing about $10 million a month in new mortgages every single month.
What would you say the translation is to like say final expense? Like just so we can kind of compare like in a way, because I don't know what that would look like in terms of doing final expense business. Like, is it apples to apples, like 10 million if you're doing 10 million in final expenses the same, or would you say like it's like a lot tougher, or like not easier, but like I don't know, like kind of like share that.
So say like $10 million in 1 month in new mortgages is probably going to be it's going to be somewhere like 30 to 50 homes. It's probably round about what we were doing. We were transacting like 30 to 50 new homes, whether it was a refinance or a new purchase on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So I was 25 years old at that time, and I had just got married, and I never forget, I Googled, I'm 25 and I have $100,000 in cash. What do I do? Because that's what Google was just getting big. Well, I didn't know, they didn't give me a good answer, obviously, because I lost everything.
Jeez.
When the real estate market crashed, back in like 07, 08, I went from really, really high thinking that I was unstoppable to I lost everything.
Yeah.
Like when I say everything, like homes, cars, friends, money, everything.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that I used to have to, like, I only kept so much money in the bank because I was terrified that my debt collectors were going to take the money out. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So like I never had more than like $500 at any one time. Like
Jeez.
it was like it was a tough struggle, going to discount supermarkets and, really anything that, people that are struggling do. And
Yeah. Can we
I
pause real quick there because I wanna know what you learned from that experience. As somebody that's in their 20s, right? That's striving towards to getting to that point because having 100,000 in the bank is something that I'm definitely striving for. What would you say you learned or maybe like would have done differently maybe to be able to like make sure that wouldn't happen, that like hey, once you have the money, you're not going backwards even if the real estate market were to crash. Like what did you learn
well,
in that?
I think I learned that the money doesn't make you at all. And it doesn't
Mm,
matter how much you really have.
yeah.
You almost got to like kind of forget that you have it because I had that money at a young age and I felt like I was invincible. Like, I'm like,
Mm,
dude, like my parents said life was hard. Like, what a lie crock of shit that was. You know what I mean?
yeah.
This was
Yeah.
easy. Like, if this is an indication of what the rest of my life is going to be like, this is a piece of cake, man. Like, I
Yeah.
made it. I'm 25 years old. I made it. And it was that thinking that got me right to where I ended up next, which was
Mm,
flat broken on my face
yeah.
because I stopped fighting.
Yeah.
So I really learned a lot, and I also learned that I don't want to be nowhere near that ever again.
Yeah.
It put a strain on the relationship with my family,
Yeah.
with my wife, with my children, and it's tough to make it. It's hard to make it, lose everything, and make it again. You
Yeah.
know, Spending money frivolously on stuff that doesn't matter was a big mistake, and purchasing debts with cash and not purchasing assets that are going to make you money and things like that. And just,
Hmm.
not reinvesting properly back into my business. I really feel that if I had the mind that I have today, I probably would not have ever made it to the insurance business. I would have still been in the real estate business, just doing much, much better,
Yeah.
but I got really complacent, really comfortable. I thought I was invincible. And like to a weird, crazy degree, I kind of gave up, man.
Mm.
And I just let life take me in whatever direction that it took me.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. That's good. Um and that's an interesting concept, right? Because it's like a lot of people say everything happens for a reason, but it's interesting because you started in real estate, you probably thought, "Hey, this is probably where I'm going to make my living."
Mhm.
All of a sudden the real estate market crashes and then you're kind of like, "What do I do next?" And then how long were you in the real estate and mortgage like industry getting to that point, and like what were like, if you don't mind, like what were you making a month at that point, like being
So
so young?
at my highest in the mortgage and real estate business, I was making like 30 to 40,000 a month. Three to like 500,000 a year. I think my best year was right around 500,000 in one year. And that was at my height. I started in the real estate and mortgage business in August of 2004,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in it until I fully got out of it and exited was 2009. That's when I got my insurance license. But
Wow.
those last like 2 years, man, I was just throwing what against the wall and seeing what sticks. I was doing loan modifications and getting into debt consolidation and like really
Yeah. Yeah.
anything that I could possibly get my hands on. And the sad part too is that's like a really, really grimy world at that time because it was so new
Mm.
and nobody really knew what they were doing. And I, referred friends and stuff to these attorneys that were doing these loan modifications and, you know, ruined relationships because things didn't quite work out the way. And,
Yeah.
I just found myself at a place that like I was not happy in what I was doing, and I was part of this marketing group called BNI. They're called Business Network International. They're a big networking
Uh-huh.
group, really neat thing. And I had this guy came up to me that I knew from the mortgage business, and he's like, "Man, I do an insurance now." He used to be one of my account executives for a bank that we used to finance stuff through. And he said, "Man, come check this deal out. They got leads. They'll pay you the next day." I'm like, "Sign me up, bro." You know, And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I fumbled into the insurance business.
What were your initial thoughts of the insurance space? Like when you started realizing the business model, the money potential, opportunities, things like that. Like you being in the real estate space and the mortgage side, what were your initial thoughts of the final expense business?
Well, I didn't start in final expense. I
Oh, okay.
started, well, I kind of did and I didn't. My first month or two as an insurance agent, I thought I was going to do everything. I'll never
Yeah.
forget. I was sitting down in this class because back then there wasn't so much virtual stuff, right? This was 2009, 2010. And I'm sitting there in the classroom learning how to get my license. And I remember I'm like, man, I'm going to sit down with somebody. I'm going to sit down with Johnny. I'm going to sell Johnny a life insurance policy, a health insurance policy, a long-term care policy.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell him an annuity, and I'm going to do it for his wife and his kids and his mom. And he's going to give me all his friends. And I'm going to sell everybody everything.
Yeah.
That's literally what I thought. Like I'm going to be the insurance guru, right? I'm going to go walk into a home and I'm going to walk out with 10 policies.
Yeah.
Well, I was awakened very quickly. That was so far from reality. You know what I mean? that wasn't the case. And
Yeah.
then I got, introduced to this carrier that was doing final expense, because my biggest thing, like even when I first got to Florida to do mortgages and real estate, like my daily basis was I would go into this CRM system and I would input licensed insurance agents and licensed real estate agents and licensed mortgage brokers into this database. And so we can print out flyers and mail stuff to them. So that I would consume half my day with data entry.
Oh,
And the
okay.
other half was going on and looking up people in the phone book and knocking on their doors and, trying to get them to do their mortgages and real estate with us,
Gotcha. Okay.
And so meaning I had no leads. I had
Yeah.
to just go out there and shake the trees and, pound the pavement. So when I got my insurance license, it was the same thing. Like I didn't have any leads. I didn't know who to even talk to, and I didn't really have that many friends. Like I did, but I didn't. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like I grew up in Jersey. My wife calls me the mayor because everywhere I go, I know everybody. I didn't have that in Florida. So my network was not big. I needed leads, right?
Yeah.
So then I found a company called Lincoln Heritage that had leads.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like now I got someone to talk to. Like, let me just go to work now.
Yeah.
And so my initial thing was like, this is awesome. But then when I knocked on my first door, I was so nervous that I was praying to God that they wouldn't answer. And I don't know what overtook me, because it just like, it was a little bit of fear, a little bit of like just nervousness, like not sure, new thing. I'm still broke at this point. Like my mindset was broken more than anything. And it just like everything just kind of hit me all at once. And it was really scary.
Yeah.
But I got over it, obviously.
Yeah.
It was scary in the beginning, man. It really was. But I the first time I ever met this one top dog manager at my previous company, he flashes his Rolex in my face. This is literally my first encounter with this man. His name's Troy. Great guy, awesome guy. He's like, he flashes his Rolex in my face and says, this is what this is what they give you when you become a millionaire, type of a deal. Like, no, hi, how you doing? Like, this is like, you just throw your watch in my face. I'm supposed to respect you.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here and I'm talking to this man. I'm like, this dude ain't that smart. What does he have that I don't have? And I meet the next guy, the next girl, and all these successful people. And I'm like, dude, you got all these people making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of dollars, like pro athlete salaries type stuff. They're selling these little policies. Like, what the hell do they got that I don't have?
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to be one of those people that people looked at and said, if he could do it, I could do it.
Yeah. What would you like? Because that obviously it sounds like in that moment it clicked. Did you see it like or like the opportunity, how you saw real estate for the first time, like the opportunity there, or was it different? What was the difference there? Because I think a lot of like, I think there could be, right, shiny object syndrome of like, hey, maybe if I go to start selling real estate, that I'll be more successful, or like, oh, it's like different things. And I don't know, like you being on the other side of that, like what would you say you saw that was maybe different, or was it like similar opportunities? Talk us through that.
Well, I mean, when I graduated college and my father-in-law made me his partner in this venture, I didn't I don't even know if I realized that it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like I was still coming from that mindset that I just had a job. So I never looked at it back then as, oh my God, I can grow and build this business. I kind of, even though I was his partner, I kind of viewed it as like I work for him
Yeah.
still to like a crazy degree. So I never really looked at that as like this opportunity per se. Like it was just a job.
Yeah.
Now as I grew into it, my mindset changed a little bit, but in the insurance business, like I saw something.
Yeah.
Like I saw an avenue. I saw my way out.
Yeah.
I saw like, okay, dude, like if these people are doing it and they got this system and they say just do this, this, and this, that you'll get to where I'm at over time. That so all I did was put my head down. It's what I do best. And I do what the more successful people tell me to do. And I know that over time I'll be where I want to be.
Yeah.
So it was at first glance totally different. Like I was
Hmm.
younger, I was just wanting a job, just wanted to get by, go to the next party, like you know what I
Yeah.
mean, hang out with my friends, like get off work as soon as I can, to where it's, man, I can really build a long-term meaningful career and put myself in a position to really help other people achieve that as well.
Yeah. So when you said, um, like doing what the successful people were doing, when you started out as an insurance, like as a new agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing that like what are those types of things? Because I think it may be obvious, but like I really want to like ask you that, and really like for you to share what you were able to do to one start like making money selling, but then when the right time to start recruiting and building is. What was that for you, or what would you say?
So like the beginning for me was very difficult. You know,
Mm.
I was I'll play victim for just a second. Like I was overlooked, I was never trained, like none of that nonsense.
Yeah.
And I want to say about 6 to 8 months went by of me working at my previous company. And I was selling policies, but really small face amounts. I mean, in the final expense world, you're dealing with seniors on fixed income, or
Yeah.
you're dealing with lower income kind of middle-aged people.
Yeah.
So you go there and you kind of have a tendency to judge people. So I was writing really small premiums, but I was always
Yeah.
selling, but I just kind of wasn't really whatever. I mean, once I can sit down and I get comfortable, like I could talk to anybody, but it took 6 to 8 months, and I'm not sitting at this meeting and they say, hey, who wants to do like an example presentation? I don't know, Johnny, what made me raise my hand,
Yeah.
because like I'm pretty outgoing, but I'm also can also be very introverted at the same
Yeah.
time, if that makes sense. Like if
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
comfortable, like I'm the loudest guy in the room.
Yeah.
But if I'm not, dude, you wouldn't even know that I'm there. Right. And something made me raise my hand. And I went up there despite my, against my own judgment.
Yeah.
And I did my presentation. And I'm like, all right, well, let's have it. Poke holes. I know it was awful. They're like, Doug, that was the best presentation I've ever heard in my life. Like, there's no reason why you're not a $20,000 a month producer. Like back when I was doing it in 2009, 2010, like you do 20,000 in a month, like you are the man.
Yeah.
Now we got guys like you doing 20,000 in a week. You know what I mean? Making us all old timers look bad, but like you were the man. And like, Doug, you
Yeah.
should be at 20. There's no reason why you're not. And what I was missing, Johnny, was that confidence and that certainty that I could be one of those people, that I was doing the right thing. Because I was walking around, had this great, eloquent, amazing presentation with zero confidence and zero certainty. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't even hardly believe the own words that was coming out of my mouth. And it took me that one time. And literally from that point on, I just started getting better and better and better. But it took me a whole year to have 1 month where I issued $10,000 in premium. So fast forward, 20 or 13 years now, where we're doing close to 3 million a month. Rewind, and it took that same guy a whole year to where I can put together a month that was over $10,000. But once I did 10,000, I was able to do 15 and I was able to do 20 because I figured out the math. I figured
Yeah.
out that if I were to get a certain amount of leads and do a certain amount of presentations, over time, I was guaranteed to get a certain result. It
Mhm.
may not always happen every day, but at the end of the week, it always worked itself out. At the end of the month, it
Yeah.
always worked itself out. And I saw something there. I'm like, okay, now it's just a matter of introducing other people. I figured it out now. I cracked the code,
Yeah.
right? And I really think like nowadays, once you can put together, and I like to say $10,000 a month because that's what did it for me, right? 10,000 made me open my eyes to say like, okay, you got it. Now
Yeah.
it's just multiplication, right? So I think like that number is 10,000 because at the end of the day, and I said this when we were down in Mississippi not that long ago or last week, is people will follow when you're in a leadership role, people are going to follow whatever example that you give them. So if you're,
Yeah.
portraying a poor example and someone you're not
Mhm.
following the system, like how could you possibly expect other people to be successful? I
Yeah.
constantly tell a lot of people as they grow into leadership that you need to hold other people to the same standard that you hold yourself to. Like who are they? Like what if it's good enough for you, why is it not good enough for them?
Yeah.
You know, and I say that because if I were to have done the things the way that I wanted to do them and not the way that these other people said this is what it's going to take to win, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. You know,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing for my last opportunity, I didn't have any room or ability to actually grow and scale and build a large business. And, that's really the biggest reason why I came over to Senior Life because I was, you know, given an opportunity to do that. And I made some mistakes, made a lot of them, still do today,
Yeah.
but I've been able to, really help out a lot of great people like yourself and like David and so many others.
Yeah. So what adversity did you have to overcome? Like obviously it sounds
All
like
the adversities, everything.
yeah, for
You name it.
sure.
Check. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll, we'll go down the list. We check it all off. I've made every
Like
mistake in the world.
yeah, like in terms of like you building that initial time, I think for me, right? Like it's like it takes a little bit of time to gain that traction. And
Yeah.
I personally like haven't had that yet. And so like I think if you were to speak like we'll say you're speaking to me in terms of like being able to like get that momentum off the ground, really okay, I made the decision, want to build, want to get to where somewhere like you are. What would your advice, I guess, be to someone like me that's like built like a little bit? There's some writers, it's like inconsistent. Like, what would you say to like get to hit my first like $100,000 month?
Yeah. Awesome question. So, like, first thing is you must be a product of the opportunity,
Hmm.
right? You have
Yeah.
to be a success story. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to be doing $1 million a month and making $1 million a year or whatever the case may be, but you need to be having successes and be a product of the system of what you preach. And you must be the carrot that everybody's chasing.
Okay.
There should be no reason that in an early on stage until you get to you get to a certain point you can't personally produce anymore. There's just too many things going on and too many people to
Yeah.
help. But
Yeah.
early on, like where you're at right now, where you're still personally producing every single day, every single week, every month, you need to be the number one on that leaderboard for your team. You need to be the guy that people look up to and say, I want to be like Johnny. I want Johnny's
Mm.
life. I want Johnny's income. I want his swag. I want his abilities. Like I
Yeah.
want all of Johnny. I want to duplicate Johnny.
Yeah.
Right. You need to be that person. I'll never forget. There was this guy's name was Ron Summers. I'll give him a shout out. Probably never going to see this podcast, but if he ever does one
Yeah.
day, appreciate you, Ron. He got mad at me. He's like, Doug, it's not fair, man. And this is early on my career Senior Life. Is every week you're on the leaderboard as number one. It's not fair. I said, why is it not fair? I said, it's not fair if I don't put myself up. I said, Ron, if I'm not the best of the best, why would y'all even follow me, man?
Yeah.
Like, what am I, if I can't show you how to do it and be a product of it, what good am I, man? And that's one thing that I love a lot about Senior Life is this is not like a race to see who can get the best contract and they just sit there and tell people how to do. It's easy to tell people what to do from the sidelines,
Yeah.
but I don't think that lasts long enough. If we lock arms and we're like, Johnny, let's roll, like, let's go. We're in this together. I'm going to fight with you. Like we're in this together. the relationships that you'll build with people and doing it that way will far exceed, really anything that you can even imagine of. But again, you got to build meaningful relationships with the people that you bring on. Robert Shiver, I'll give him a little credit, told me something a while ago, which is rules without relationships causes rebellion. Right?
Yeah.
And because there's got to be some level of relationship, there's got to be a level of trust that if you say, hey, do this, you'll get this. Like, they got to trust that what you're telling them is right. Like, I trusted those people. I don't know why I did, because I didn't really have much of a relationship. Maybe like I was that broken that I was just willing to trust anybody that told me anything and that can kind of show me something shiny, like a fancy watch. Maybe that was the best thing for me, him throwing that watch in my face. You know what I'm saying? But I believed it and I did it, because perception is reality. So if you believe it to be true, you're going to follow it, and you have to give people a reason to follow you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good piece. Like, what would in terms of like, I think now it's definitely a lot better in terms of like doing telesales. That allows the opportunity to be able to like sell, but also like be on Zoom, right? Being able to have a virtual call center where there's people on there, you're able to unmute. I think that's like one of the biggest values that we have is like being able to do that. And I'm just speaking from personal experience, not just like some theoretical, because that's when my business started changing, when I would get on Zoom every day. It wasn't in the like virtual call center that we have, but it was just I created my own. And it was just like, I would be on Zoom every day. I'd go into work every day, 8 a.m., like clockwork, 7 a.m. sometimes, but like, and I would have people on there every single day. And that's when it really started changing for me. But like, what would your advice be like for somebody wanting to like in that producer and building stage, what like the schedule, like what would that look like ideally, I guess?
Yes. I mean, that's probably the toughest part.
Yeah.
Is when you're in between. It's easy to be selfish and just write a bunch of business. Like, that's not hard to do. I mean, you can, I'm sure, agree with me on that.
For sure.
It's not that it's easy to manage a lot of people, but it's not so bad. But when you're transitioning from a producer to building, that like in between stage, that's definitely the toughest part of the business.
Yeah.
My wife kind of calls it the dark years. And I'll never forget, we were up in Orlando at 2023's kickoff with Senior Live.
Yeah.
And, my wife's my biggest fan. Honestly, without her, like, I would not be here. She's even made me get through college. Like, if it wasn't for her, my life would be totally different. And I have her so much to thank for that. I mean, but we were up in Orlando and she's going through, on Facebook, you can see the memories, like, and they pop up. Yeah. And she goes, look, I'm looking at all these memories. She goes, do you know how I know when you started at Senior Life? I'll give you a guess. What do you think she told me?
Like,
she's going through all these memories, and she's like, you know how I can tell when you started working at Senior Life?
I don't know.
Most people say, oh, because you looked happier, right? And all stuff, but that's exactly it. I wasn't there. I wasn't in any of the pictures because I was always working. I was always out. I missed dinners. I didn't miss birthdays. I wasn't that, bad, but I missed soccer games and baseball games. I missed a lot, but it was temporary, and when you're in that moment, it seems like it's an eternity. But now looking back, it was over like that. It's quick. Now I don't miss a thing anymore. You know what I'm saying? But those couple of years that I was in massive, like just crazy stage, I was working 6-7 days a week. Like, there was no hours, there was no breaks. It was organized hecticness.
Yeah.
If that's even a word. Like, it was insanity.
Yeah.
I would drop off my son early on, my son's at school. I'd go right to a Dunkin' Donuts, and I would do my recruiting posts. Back then it was easier, just go throw a couple ads on Craigslist and your inbox would be, flooded with candidates, or go call a couple people, make a post or two, whatever, and I'd have to do all that, do a conference call in the morning for my team, get them all rallied and get them all ready to fight. and I'd have to be on my first door at 9 a.m.
Mm.
You know, and I always had somebody in the car with me, because what I learned is, and I'll ask you this, Johnny, what would your team look like if you had 100 Johnnies? Would you like that?
100%. I think like that would
Like if
it
you had
would be the
100 people doing the amount of production that you're doing right now with your
yeah, it
attitude,
would. I
your
mean,
mindset,
it would be the best team in the country. Like it would just
yeah.
that's how it'd be.
So what I realized is, if I want that, the only way to get that is by having people around me as much as possible. Because if they know what I do every single
Yeah.
day, then I can duplicate it. But if I'm being this secret guy over here in the corner and I'm just writing it, because, you know, everybody has this like myth, man, Johnny, what's Johnny doing, man? He's writing all this production. He's got to be doing something different. Oh, Bianca, oh man, she's writing all this production. She's doing, what is she doing? Well, I was such an open book. Man, I'm doing what y'all do every day. Come watch me. Come on, let's lock arms. So I always had somebody in a car with me every single day, whether I was training a new agent or helping an agent kind of get out of a funk, you know? So it was just,
Yeah.
dude, it was balls to the wall. It was insanity, worked all the hours, as many leads as possible, whatever it took.
Yeah, so you were constantly doing that, and then you briefly mentioned that you're throwing ads on Craigslist. Like, when did you start really? When did you start feeling the traction coming? Like, okay, like you can start feeling the overrides a little bit. You can start feeling the momentum growing. Okay, people are starting to produce without me. Like, not like we talk obviously on a day-to-day basis, but they're not asking me what medications is this for? Like this popped up, or like those like beginner type questions, I would say. Not in a bad way, just like inexperience, right? When did you start feeling that momentum start going to
Well,
in your favor?
I mean, I really started feeling the momentum pretty early on, within a couple of months. Now, I came here with some experience, so I knew how to sell by the time I got here. So
Yeah.
selling was not the issue. You know what I mean? So I can go out there and sell as much as I wanted to write, almost kind of whenever I wanted to write it. So that, you know, that part I was good with that at that time. Now, it took me a couple of years to get to that point, but by the time I got here, I kind of got that. So I think it was my third month. I started in September. We had a conference, a leadership conference at the home office in November of 2013. And I want to say it was like 70 something thousand that we were doing in a month by then. And I was only doing about 15,000 at that time, because I was spending, you know, time helping, and I'd give away policies. Like, I was writing a lot more than 15,000. I was giving it away, splitting it, whatever the case may be, but, you know, pretty early, but it wasn't enough. You know, but I saw it, but I'm like, okay, again, duplicate and more and compound and multiply it. And it just kind of been trending upward since then. I haven't had to write a policy probably for about 7 years.
Wow.
It's probably about how long that we've been really, really rocking and building hard. But again,
Yeah, so
made a lot of mistakes. I mean,
yeah,
still,
so you started like you felt that momentum really going. Your team was doing 50, 60,000 a month outside of you. Which is awesome, right? And so so you started feeling that momentum, you're growing. Like, were there any things that you like, I guess, changed in that time? So when you're obviously producing, you have agents coming with you, you're going in the home. When you start hitting that 100,000, 150,000 a month mark, things like that, what changed so that you could have more leverage? Did you still keep doing that, or would you like have leaders that you would pour into and then they would go train, or like talk us through that?
Yeah, so for the longest time, my biggest struggle for the first couple of years was I was the only one that I felt taking this opportunity as serious as it should be taken.
Yeah.
You know, so the longest time it was always just look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, where I needed to be like, look at these people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it took a long time to find people that wanted to build a big, you know, business and carry the same mindset. But, you know, a lot of things, like, you know, there was always a lot of things that I would avoid. Like, I would avoid tough conversations. You know, I think we all, and holding people accountable, like, that's hard stuff to do, you know, because you're going to have to call people out on their stuff. You know, you're going to have a conversation where that might get a little sideways, might get a little agitated. But I learned from one of my mentors early on that has now since retired. His name was Mike Harper. he says, Doug, the anxiety of these tough situations and tough conversations far, far exceeds the actual conversation,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're just telling me that to make me feel better. And I'll forget, like, the first one that I really had to have, I'm like, man, that wasn't so bad. I wish I would have done
Yeah.
that a long time ago, you know? But it's just
Yeah.
believing in yourself and believing in myself enough at that time in my abilities and my coaching to call people out when I saw them slipping, not be scared, you know, that they might get mad at me, or, you know, that really have like a serious conversation. You know what I mean? That really was a big turning point for me, because then I was able to really start holding these people, because everyone comes to this opportunity, and you probably see it too. You're recruiting now. They're going to light the world on fire, man. This is everybody's last stop. They're going to be the next millionaire, the next Johnny, the next Doug Blake, the next David Price. Like they're
Yeah.
the man, they're the woman, like they're the next person. But their actions betray the words that they speak. You
Yeah.
know, and I was not able to hold them accountable to the degree that I needed to. I was able to do it myself. That's the funny thing. You know, I was having a conversation with an agent the other day, and I think I might have said it just a few minutes ago, which is, you need to be able to hold people to the same standard that you hold yourself to.
Yeah.
You know, and I really lacked that early on. Like, why was it okay for me to wake up early, do my recruiting stuff, you know, still do my conference call, be at my first house at 9 a.m., work until 10 p.m., do it 7 days a week, nonstop, maniac, miss things. Like, why was that okay for me to do? But when it come to helping Johnny out, I couldn't convince you to do that also.
Yeah.
I wasn't confident enough, you know, and it just, but I had no reason to not be confident. That was what the crazy part was. I
Yeah.
had such a hard time telling people, no, this is what you got to do to be successful, you know? And this is exactly what I did. And I finally realized that those conversations weren't so bad. People actually appreciate being held accountable. You know, you build a
Yeah.
lot more loyalty, you build a lot more relationships with people. And I found myself that, hey, there wasn't anything that you've been through. Like, there's nothing that you, Johnny, will experience from this point on that I haven't experienced already and got through. And that's what I love about this business, because it's the same things that happen over and over again. Like, you're not going to stumble across something that David and I haven't already stumbled across. And we got through it. You know, it may hurt still, but, you know, and it's just getting that confidence and that certainty that you're able to do that was a big turning point for me. And I was really able, once I figured that out, I made a lot less mistakes. And the ones that I made were very easily fixed.
Yeah. So when you got out of the field officially, retired your pen 7 years ago, what did your schedule look like at that point?
Way busier.
I figure, honestly, I figured you were gonna say that, right? But like, what's that actually like practically look like?
You know, so at that time when I first retired, say, my pen, I was working out of my office in Boca Raton, Florida, and I had about 12 or 15 guys in there selling on the phone. Man, I was married to that place. I mean, I left every day when it was dark out, and I got home every day when it was dark out. And it just, that's just the way it was, man. And, you know, in between, we're doing leadership meetings and conference calls, and man, it was just like nonstop. So I'm not saying it was more work. It was just different work, same activity, you know, just, or same hours, just different stuff. You know, I found myself just, you know, sitting down and having, you know, I wasn't pounding the pavement and sweating my tail off, knocking on doors, but I'm sitting down, I'm coaching, I'm sitting side by side. I'm like, Johnny, say this, do this, try that one, you know, and just coaching people constantly, try to get them to where they needed to be.
Yeah. So
Just a lot more coaching, man.
So there's a lot more coaching, a lot more, I mean, helping other people build agencies as well, I'm assuming, and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And getting them to see what I see. And then, you know, then there's the whole, you know, back then there was a lot more. I mean, we didn't have leads the way, you know, or anything like that. So there was only 3 types of leads back then. There was TV leads, there was yellow page leads, and there was direct mail leads. And since we were all working in the field, 99% of what we did was direct mail. So I was the guy that had to manage that direct mail inventory. You know, that in and itself is a job, you know, and coordinating drops and, you know, analyzing accounts to make sure that, you know, you get returned what you need. You know,
Yeah.
a lead program and having to manage it is like glasses, right? It's a blessing and a curse at the same time because, you know, if you have too much leads, then the people that are working the leads, they're going to get older, right? And then by the time that your agents get them, they're older. Or if you don't have enough, then they don't have enough. And it's like, it's so hard to find that balancing act. But I have something, Johnny, that I'm very, very proud of. I've been with Senior Life now for 10 years in September.
Oh,
And
wow.
I've never once, not 1 week, went a week without giving every single agent the exact amount of leads that he or she wanted to work and needed to work. Not one time, you know. So managing, you know, a lead program is pretty tough. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier now, you know, with this so many different types of leads and leads the way and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
we've kind of almost gotten out of the direct mail business to a certain degree. And I
Yeah.
think we're down to like 2 or 3 field agents, maybe a few more, but there's not many at all. You
Yeah.
know, which you know is a big relief for me. It's that takes a lot off of the plate because and we have help with it, but someone's still got to oversee it and manage it and make sure that it's done properly. And because again, leads is the bloodline.
Yeah.
Without those, like that 3 million is not even, there's zero chance, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So that's a big part is, and then again too, making sure that agents are taking the right amount of leads so that way they have a chance for success.
Yeah.
You know, it's you can't just go get a couple of leads. Like how many leads you work on a daily basis? I'm sure probably
A
over 10 or
ton.
more,
Yeah.
tons.
It's a lot.
You
Yeah.
know, so, you know, if you go out and you look at this agent and they're only averaging taking 10 or 15 leads a week, I mean, how can they have a chance to be successful?
They can't.
They can't, you know. So it's also making sure that the secret sauce, the leads, are getting worked. And if you work enough
Yeah.
of them, you're going to get good, you know, but you'll always be profitable. You know, I've seen very few agents that literally followed our system to a T and didn't make it. They always miss part of it. And the biggest thing that most people miss is the work part, the activity part, is picking up that phone when you just got told no, you know,
Mhm.
and getting another lead and getting another lead and keep working leads and just never giving up. You know, I've purchased sets of leads and never closed things before. Never stopped me from making money though,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah.
so that you know the leads and managing the agents, and because you don't just want to give leads to agents because you know if they do they're going to make money, but you want them to want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
what's that conversation look like so that I don't know if it's conversation, like are there steps to be able to like help that be a reality or what's that look like?
Well, I mean, it varies from person to person because it all comes down to belief, you know. And if they believe when they pick up that phone that they're going to make a sale, they're more likely to make that sale. But if they look at that like, oh, this is, you know, what's going to happen. So a little bit's in the conversation, but a lot more of it, Johnny, is let's just say if we were on Zoom together right now,
Yeah.
let's call them together. You know, let me show you. I had Rachel Boatwright is in our organization, and she had an agent that was struggling. This agent said that you know she's done with these leads. She had a high lead balance. I said, here's what you need to do, Rachel. You need to take those leads and sell them in front of her. So she grabbed her stack of leads. They went on Zoom together, and Rachel made it. I think the first or second person she called, she made a sale. And you need to prove to them that it's all them. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But you have to be there for them to help them get through it, you know, and give them the word tracks to say and coach them up. And, you know, and that's what I
Yeah.
love a lot about the virtual call center is you can do all that together as a group. You know, you
Yeah.
hang up the phone and say, hey guys, man, I couldn't overcome this. I got hung up on here. What would you guys do differently?
Yeah.
And now we have like a whole bunch of people mentoring all of us all at the same time. So, you know,
Yeah.
that makes it a lot easier, but really it's grabbing someone by the arm, you know, putting your arm over their shoulder and be like, come on, dude, I got you. Let's go. Let's do this together.
Yeah. What are the I just lost my train of thought. What I don't know why I just lost my train of thought. But in terms of like, oh yeah, what are the metrics that you track or look at like in your business now? Um, that if somebody's wanting to get to, I mean, 100 to $1 million a month, like what are the metrics that like an agency builder should be
Mhm.
looking at and tracking and being able to like hit so that they kind of like see that they're on the right track?
Okay, so here at Senior Life, our math doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I'll start off by saying that. So
Okay.
10 times 12 equals 100.
Okay.
Makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
If you hire 10 people a month for 12 months, you will be doing $100,000 of production a month. If
Okay.
you want to do, if you hire 100 people a month for 12 months, you'll be doing $1 million a month.
Mm-hmm.
So we call it the rule of 10. Okay. And every block of $100,000 is broken up into the number of recruits, which that magic number is 10. But you can't just do it 1 month. It's got to be for a duration of 12 months. Here's what I can promise you, Johnny. You start hiring 10 people a month for the next 12 months, you will be at least $100,000 a month in the next 12 months. Guaranteed.
Okay.
Now, in addition to that, the leads that you work, we work on this thing called the premium per lead. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. It's
Yeah.
the amount of premium that you're expected to write off of one lead.
Yeah.
The average person, if you want to be profitable, is going to be about $250 of annualized premium per lead. You can get to 250, you're profitable, you will never, ever, ever, ever have money issues for the rest of your life.
Okay.
But
And that's like profitable. Okay.
extremely profitable. Like just say that means if you worked, 20 leads, you're doing 5,000 a week. You're writing 20,000 a month. Like you're doing well. You're making money.
Okay.
Now, on a broad standpoint of a large agency, right? I break that down to a ridiculously low level and I call it $100. $100 premium per lead.
Gotcha.
So if I
Okay.
want to do $1 million a month, how many leads I got to work? 10,000.
10,000 leads.
I want to do
Gotcha.
$2 million a month. I got to work 20,000 leads. I want to do $100,000 a month. I got to work 1,000 leads.
Gotcha.
So you have a choice. You want to do $100,000 this next month. You got a choice, Johnny. You could either take 1,000 leads yourself, or you could find a group of people to work those 1,000 leads with you. Either which way, if you work 1,000 leads, you're guaranteed to make $100,000 next month. So those are like the two most important things that I keep track of. How many people we hiring? We're hiring about 300 people a month. And it's so funny because we're doing about 3 million a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The numbers are just there. Now that $100 is low because I like to take into consideration the people that are like part-time and doing nothing, or the new people whose premium per lead is lower. But you also maybe kind of take out of the average the Johnnies of the world that probably got a premium per lead of $500. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like to keep it conservative because, take a little something out of Grant Cardone's 10X theory is people always underestimate the amount of work it takes to get to a destination. Well,
Yeah.
I know that if I do the amount of work way more than what I need to do to actually do a million. So like if I know that 10,000 leads is way more, I probably can get it done with about 7,500 leads to get $1 million or 75,000. But 10,000, I know I'm getting that million. It's done. Right. So I want to put in that effort so that the way that my goal happens no matter what.
Yeah. So you're consistently having people to work leads, be able to do that. That's I've talked a little bit with David about that. I just wanted other people to hear that from somebody doing it. Looking at that, right? So projecting, okay, hey, I want to do for me 100,000 a month. Okay, 1,000 leads worked, and 10 agents a month. And just to confirm, like an agent counts as like a writing number.
Yeah, I would count that as someone that's actually onboarded.
Okay, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good. And do you look at anything, I guess, else besides that? Or like what would you recommend? Like, because I think numbers I definitely can get for agents, right? It can get people could look at it too much, and then you could also look at it not enough, right?
So I'd
And
say
so
that
what's
there's
kind of the balance for that?
so there's two different numbers that you're going to look at. And I would encourage everybody to look at nothing other than what I'm going to say. When you're an agent and you're only an agent, meaning you have no team, you need to look at two numbers: the number of leads that you work and the number of presentations that you do. That's the only thing that matters.
Mm-hmm.
When you're an agency owner, the only two things that matter are the number of people that you onboard and the number of leads that you work. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Are there things that are important? Yeah, probably, but nothing else matters. That's the only things that I've ever looked at, because as a personal producer, you need both. And if the number of presentations that you're doing, if it's not there, you have no chance to win. Our magic number is 15 a week. We tracked it for like 2 years one time. People that did 15 presentations on a weekly basis averaged over $6,500 a week in annualized premium. So that's like $25,000 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't the last person that did less than 5,000 that did 15 presentations. So that was the goal. I got to get 15 presentations a week. Now, you get 20 leads a week. That was our magic number back then. It's hard to do 15 presentations off of 20 leads, right? So you got to get referrals. You got to knock on neighbors' doors. You got to work old leads. You got to do more, but I'm getting replenished with the bucket of 20 new every single week, right? So those are only two things that I'm looking at. Now, if I'm selling on the phone, like back then, that was a field number, 15 presentations. Well, 15 presentations on the phone we like to do 4 to 5 hours of talk time a day.
Okay.
And that was kind of our metric there. You do 4 to 5 hours of talk time a day is about equivalent to 3 to 5 presentations a day, which will get you your 15 presentations at minimum by the end of the week. But like on my level, there's really only two things that matter: is how many people we hire, how many leads are we working? Because everything is going to be a result of those two numbers. Everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
so if those numbers are right, then the money's there, the production's there. You can do whatever you want to do.
For sure. Rex Sereches said, where do you buy leads? So at Senior Life, there's a Leads the Way app that has all the leads in there, literally live transfers you can get where they actually call you. So that's what that looks like. And Andrea asked a good question. When you're talking to clients who already have coverage, do you ask how much they are paying monthly? Because how can you tell if it's term or whole life?
So one thing I will say about the leads, you got to be, and this is some advice for everybody. Be very, 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 I'll say very one more time, careful and cautious of where you get your leads. Working a compliant lead nowadays, especially on the phone, guys, is so important.
Yeah.
I've seen people get in trouble and have to pay massive fines, even when they said, "Oh, we do not call list. We got triple verified, and we got the recording of them and all that stuff, saying that they agree." But guys, it's wrong. People get popped every day, and I take extreme pride in the fact that all Senior Life's leads are 1,000% compliant, approved by every single state that we conduct business in, and I don't have to worry about any of that. So be very careful, guys. I mean, do your research. But to go back to the other person with the question about the premium and things like that, is I never got caught up in that, ever. All I knew is that this customer called our TV commercial or responded to one of our advertisements because they want to buy a policy from us. So I'm not so concerned with what they have or whatever. I'm more concerned with selling them a policy with Senior Life. That's all I care about. I know people say, well, you got it. I never got caught up in it. I've been very successful with it. Sometimes if you get caught too much up in what they already have, you might just talk them into not doing anything with you, which, may not be the worst thing, because you want them to actually need what you have. But you can't convince me that every single person, regardless of what they have already, you can't convince me otherwise that they don't need a policy with us. I believe, I don't care if you got a term policy for $1 bazillion, you need a policy with Senior Life. If you have no insurance, you need a policy with Senior Life. You got an accident plan, job insurance, you need a policy with Senior Life. So I tend to try to not get caught up in there. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, but I really try to not get caught up in what they already have.
Yeah. I want to talk through something practical here before we hop off for an agent. I think you did a little training on this, and I think it's good. And something I'm really like I really like, and I want you to kind of talk through it for other people. So when you're wanting to get an ASAP business, right? Cash on hand in like cash delivery, right? Like cash on hand, cash with the application. They're buying today, and they're really making a buying decision. Talk us through the like how you talk to the client to make sure you guys are on the same page that's coming
Yeah,
out,
definitely.
because yeah, and how you kind of do that, and maybe they're like, hey, don't want to pay today, how you kind of overcome that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, first off, it's a decision that you personally, as an agent, have to make, that you will not take anything other than ASAP business. You
Yeah.
know, now I get it. These people are on fixed income and they may not get their money. Like today's July 20th, right? They may say, oh, well, Johnny, I need to post date this till August the 1st. That's when I get my Social Security. That doesn't sound like a big deal. Well, to me, it is. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, if you can't afford this on your worst month, Johnny, are you having your worst month ever?
No.
The answer probably no. So if you can't afford this now, what's going to happen, Johnny, when the car breaks down? What's going to happen when the air conditioning breaks? What's going to happen when it's your grandkid's birthday, Christmas, Easter, whatever, holiday, someone goes into the hospital, lose work for a minute? Like, what's going to happen when unexpected bills come up? You're going to drop this insurance. So if you can't afford it now and you're not having your worst month, we got to go back to the drawing board. And I'd rather get a smaller policy with the hopes and goal to maybe increase it later than to get someone involved in a policy and kind of post date it, if you will. Every day that goes out of today, the likelihood of that issuing goes down. And if it does issue, the likelihood of it sticking and staying on the books goes down even more. We want these people.
Why would you say that is?
Because they really can't afford it. Let's be honest, guys. We're talking about, hey, Johnny, if you die, your family, boo-hoo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is all like these dark pictures of how awful your family's going to be on a day that you're no longer here. It's very easy to get caught up. I always use the analogy of, you ever go out to dinner, order all this food and fill up on bread before you even get it because you ate with your eyes. You eat with your eyes. And it's the same thing here. This is an emotional sale. Like, this is not a annuity that, okay, let's look at the percentages and the rate of return and what I'm going to get when I retire and how much a month. And this is more emotional. So we got to be very cautious and careful, that you don't take advantage of those emotions and put people in a plan and with a monthly payment that they can't afford. So you got to be mindful that everyone likes to have $100 and $200 and $300 a month premium and get that couple of $1,000 advance check, right? But it's not sticking, guys. It's not staying. You want to be in that $60 to $85 wheelhouse. That's where you want to be. Now, I know not everybody, it may not be a lot of face amount, but again, think about your mom or grandmother, if they're still with us. Imagine giving them a $300 a month payment. Ain't happening, man. I don't care what it's for. Like, that's tough, So if they can't afford it today, and we can't come to a number today, then I'm passing on that business. I'd rather not write it. I'll call you back August the 1st and we'll see what the situation's like then. But we just spent 45 minutes, Johnny, on the phone talking about if you die tomorrow, and how important it is. How can we continue to put this off anything beyond today? You know what I mean? And then also, too, Johnny, you don't get paid. When COVID hit, we made no changes in our rates. Mortality tables, have since changed, but they didn't at that time. So we didn't know what we were going to do. So what we did, our best, is we went to only allowing our agents to post date things 7 days. That was the most. And I'd say like a week I can tolerate a couple of days, but anything more than that is crazy. So when we went to that, what do you think the mood of the agency was like? Guys, I know you post date stuff for 30 days, but now the max is 7. What do you think happened? Everything went nuts, right? Everybody was, upset and, oh, my business is over and all this other stuff. Well, guess what? our business doubled and agents were more profitable.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
that
when
it's
it,
super crucial. It's super
it
crucial
was
as
just
a new
it was just
agent to
taken
get
off the
those
table,
deposits.
man. Yeah, so important. You know, and then I'll never forget early on in the business, it was December of 2009, and I'm out there knocking on doors, and all these people told me, I didn't write the business, right? But they told me to come back in January. I'm like, dude, like I'm gonna be a millionaire in January. And
Oh
I came back
god.
in January and there was no business. I don't think I wrote one policy for one of them, you know? And at that moment, I realized I'm like, man, these people, man, you know, it's just ASAP is the only way, you know? And there's a guy that works in our company. His name's Joey Faircloth. Before Bianca Menard was around, he had the record for most production in 1 week. It was right around 20 some odd thousand, 25,000, I think, in 1 week. Unheard of. That was still the time when like 20,000 a month, you're the man.
Yeah.
He literally had like a curtain around his cubicle, like, and just like this he did it in 4 days, 25 or so $1,000. Every last bit of it was ASAP, not one. We call him Joey Faircloth, the ASAP king. He does not write anything but ASAP. So if he could write the most production in 1 week ever and it all be ASAP, I think we could do it. It's just a mindset, man. But, you know, again, just talking to these people, because they know they can't afford that 150. You know, there's a difference between what you want, what you need, and what you can afford.
Yeah, big time.
You know, and we all want $1 million policy. You know, there's some stuff that we need, but we also have to be okay with, like, if the average burial costs 10 grand and we can only put together a policy for 6, it's safe to say that it's easier for your family to come up with 4,000 than 10,000. But we just have to be okay with that and help people understand that you know, that's where we need to be. Now, if you want to increase from there, or maybe some of the other family wants to kick in and get a little bit extra for you and help you with the payments, if that's what needs to be done, then that's what needs to be done.
Yeah. That's huge. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here, sharing like a ton of wisdom. Guys, drop in the comments a fire emoji for Doug. Share this with a friend. Go rewatch it if you really want to be a top 1%er. Doug, appreciate you. What are some final thoughts? Like, what's your advice to new agent out there wants to get to the $3 million a month, right? Wants to get to where you're at, and they're not sure if it's possible. What would your advice be to them?
You know, I'll keep it real simple, man. Find somebody that's successful and do everything that they do. You know, trust your upline, trust the right people, though, you know, and just never stop. You know, you're going to have tough days, tough weeks, tough months. You know, it's very rarely all sunshine and rainbows out there. You know, you're going to have some dark times and dark days, but if you continue to do the things that all the successful people do every single day with the right attitude, and you don't get caught up in the weeds, you don't allow the things that you can't control kind of take over you, and you focus on what you can control, which is your attitude, your work ethic, and your activity, man, watch out. Unstoppable.
Boom. He said it, guys. He said it. Go out and make it a great day. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end, wherever you're watching. If you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, follow for more, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Thank you, guys.